Welcome in. This is your odds checker betting preview for this week's BMW Championship. I'm Rick Gehman. That right there is Geoff Fienberg. And Geoff, quick turnaround from a Monday finish straight into the next leg of the playoffs. There's plenty to talk about. There's plenty to look forward to. But, man, this is already off to a different kind of week, isn't it?
Yeah, and my equilibrium in life is honestly kind of thrown off entirely. Like a lot of little things. Like now I was asking confused about garbage day this morning. We finish on a Monday. We don't get odds till a Tuesday morning. I'm not even talking about the content side, which you're so deep into, Rick, which I'm sure that's going to throw you off long term.
Yeah.
But yeah, my whole equilibrium is thrown off when this happens.
Yeah, I'll be messed up through the end of the month, so hopefully I can get back on track for September.
We're fragile. We're fragile.
Yeah, exactly. Creatures of habit. When those odds did come out on Tuesday morning, Geoff, it should probably be no surprise that Jon Rahm was the significant favorite. Plus 650 is the best number that you can get if you're checking out the odds checker grid. BetMGM and Caesars have him at 650. Some places as low as or as short as plus a 550, 5.5 to 1, and a big gap between him and the next shortest odds, Xander Schauffele, at 18 to 1. So the question that we are going to have to ask ourselves week in and week out is, what do we do with Jon Rahm?
If they had given us last week's number, Rick, that 10 to 1, I think I could have been there. I think I was thinking about like a powerful two-man card, calling it a week, getting out of here. He was a month off. He was spectacular. But the odds makers, they sat back and said, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, this guy was the only guy under 30 to 1 in a plethora of players we were all excited to waste money on. And he was the only one in that range in contention. So they're like, no, he actually showed everything they needed to see based on his layoff that his number needed to drop. It's unbelievable, but understandable at the same time. But here we are again. Opportunity.
Yeah, so with that, it allows for, I mean, there are some really long numbers on some big names in this field. I mentioned Scheffler is 18, then we immediately get into the 20s. And I feel like, Geoff, this is where odds makers said, just take everybody. Like everyone else, 20 to 30 to 1. Throw them in there and see what happens. We've got big name players like Justin Thomas and Colin Morikawa and Dustin Johnson and Brooks Koepka. I feel like this is the range they're just tempting us with.
Yeah, of course, and even going farther back, but I'm gonna dip even a little farther back. Very tempting to see, because that second range last week, they didn't really. It felt like it was like Schauffele, DJ, and Morikawa. DJ Morikawa missed the cut. They get bumped back a bit. JT plays well. Xander's so consistent, so he pulls up in the behind the pole setter. But I'm going a little farther back. Some of these guys are tempting, Rick, but I don't see much difference in the other guys who I think are trending how I want them to be.
Before I scroll too much further, the one thing that caught my attention very early on this Tuesday morning, Geoff, is that depending on the book, and if you're looking at the grid, DraftKings specifically is what I'm talking about, Brooks Koepka, 25 to 1, Louis Oosthuizen, 22 to 1. In a world where Louis has shorter odds to win a playoff event than Brooks Koepka, it at least perked my ears up on this Tuesday morning.
Yeah, and he's not the only player who I think there were interesting questions to see them either peered with other players at certain numbers or surpassing them. Louis, off of back-to-back withdrawals, that's an interesting situation, especially because in a head-to-head, sure, like you can make that a pick-em. Wouldn't really fight you to it. I'd rather pick Brooks, but we're talking outright win. Brooks could come in 69th place this week. I would rather go down betting Brooks at a bigger number than Louis. Also tempting, I'm not there on either.
All right, here we go. So now we enter the 30s. We get to Patrick Cantlay, Tony Finau right back at it, 30 to 1 at DraftKings. Bryson DeChambeau, Scotty Scheffler, Daniel Berger. Am I in the range yet, Geoff, that is really garnering some of your dollars for this week?
Yeah, absolutely. You are a shark in my waters right now, Rick. I can't resist Bryson. We were there on Bryson last week, and for a lot of it, it was like, I can't believe I went with Bryson over Thomas. In the end, neither mattered. Bryson is putting up birdies at an unconscious rate. Yes. We're going to a course we don't know much about, but it does seem like the Bombers are going to benefit from this layout. We try to pick a road when we don't have previous winning scores or previous guys having lifted the trophy that can give us a lane to what type of player will win. I have to guess that this one is going to favor Bombers. A player as good as Bryson, that works as hard as Bryson, it's like a nose hair. It's a fingernail between fixing the bogeys. The birdies are there. It's a fingernail fix between getting rid of those squares on the scorecard while keeping the birdies. I am not getting off the Bryson train.
33-1 at Resorts Casino is the longest number that you can get, or the best number that you can get on Bryson DeChambeau. Geoff, I re-upped on Bryson on Friday night last night. That's how good I thought the advanced, or last week, that's how good I thought the advanced metrics were for the first two rounds, and that he was really starting to put it together. Now, obviously, it didn't matter. He finished T31, and the final two rounds took 3 days and all that stuff. But I agree with you. This is him laying the blueprint of winning at a really long number here eventually.
And there was a 35 out of the chute this morning over at DraftKings that I think got beaten into the ground. I would love to know their handle on it. I would love to know, because everyone saw what we saw, Rick, and that was a cavalcade of birdies. A cavalcade of birdies.
28-1 now down on DraftKings. So obviously some sharp guys got onto that one a little bit further. There's still some enticing names here. We saw Corey Connors make a run on the weekend last week at the Northern Trust. He's 45-1. Victor Hovland played his final 9 holes without a putter last week. He's 35-1. Is there anyone else that you would want to start to assemble onto your card from this kind of 35 to 45 range?
Yeah, there are 3 guys in this range that I'm looking at. It's Berger, it's Victor, who I can't quit. Yep. I don't really care about Sunday. I don't know. The guy, or Sunday, the final round.
No, we're going to say that. Yeah, the final.
I'll talk over myself all week with that. In the final round at the Northern Trust, I can write that off. Berger, Hovland, and Hideki Matsuyama sitting at 45-1. A very consistent player. I'm gonna really get scorned. No, I don't even want to say it, but he's just so consistent. I don't think he's doing much different than Xander, and I'm sure the deep dive on the numbers will tell me I'm wrong, but I'd rather bet Hideki at over double the number, just because I'm getting the consistency. I am from Hideki, and I believe it's still going to be there.
Hideki is 45-1 at DraftKings. Daniel Berger, 35-1, essentially across the board. Victor Hovland, Resorts Casino, and DraftKings both hanging a 35-1 number on him. Okay, now this is where we always start to get into the interesting part of the board here, Geoff. These are golfers that, in a field this good, with no cut, I don't know how much win equity they have. They are certainly incentivized, because we are going to cut this field down to 30 for the Tour Championship and at East Lake. And this might be a portion of the board where you're more focused on head-to-heads or top 10s or something like that. But are there golfers that we should be keeping an eye on as we start to enter the 60-1 and longer range?
I mean, I guess if there are prototype big hitters that you like, that you do have you have to have such a strong belief in a player to bet them at an event like this, in this field, that they could pull it off. North of 50, in front of 100. I'm not there yet with the trigger, because I could be all in sort of shorter. Neiman at 60-1. I've seen this guy feature group with DJ and drive it past him. Mm-hmm. We've spoken about it before. He's a big hitter. I believe something special is still in there. And Kokrak at 80-1. He profiles well for me as well.
The one that caught my attention was Russell Henley. So some places 65-1. You can get him at 80. I believe that's BetMGM. And the thing with Henley is he's been in contention a lot. He continues to strike it well. He's not going to bomb it. He does not have the distance. He's 164th on tour, and he had basically his second worst putting performance ever last week at the Northern Trust. He's been rolling the rock better. I think he gets that back to his baseline. Now, I do worry about some of the Sunday scaries and if he's able to close it out or not, but 80-1 has at least caught my attention. So if that's the case, if it's Joaquin Niemann, if it's Jason Kokrak, then is it safe to assume that there is not an outright bet coming on any of these guys now as we enter the triple digits?
No one that has my attention as of yet. And honestly, Rick, like just sort of opening it up, there's a gap on Kokrak between 80 and 50-1. So,
yeah,
you know, it always emphasizes using that grid. I don't know. I backed Sergio last week, flirting with 100. That was my deepest long shot. Like, if you're playing to the profile, who would you like? Cam Champ? I have no idea. Vegas? I'm not there. I'm not there. I'm not gonna have money. Well, I'm not going to bet these guys. Someone would really have to do a great case of talking me into one of them. And I don't know. Are you going to?
No. No, not as an outright. No, none of these guys are going to win. I think there are interesting cases to be made for someone like, and I've never literally picked out the guy who has the longest odds in the field and thought it was interesting, but Hudson Swafford's 300-1. He's got the longest odds in the field. He gained basically 13 strokes ball striking last week. It was the fourth best single event of the season in terms of ball striking. He's long off the tee. We've seen him win recently enough. I do not think he's going to win this golf tournament, but I would not mind seeing his top 10, top 20 number, as he's literally the worst odds in this field. So I imagine the rest of those numbers are going to be pretty juicy as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's a big boy. I don't know. I can't say I'm sold, but you know, it's 350-1.
Exactly.
Looking, you know, because I'll admit I didn't even scroll this deep. Having just sort of peeked at it, the one guy that has my bit of attention, maybe I could look forward to putting into the props with a 200-1 outright. Aaron Wise seems to be really close, but even if he plays great, what would that mean? Like fourth place? Like if he played fantastic, you know, to lose to just a player in a different class at this time of year?
Yeah, that's the problem. We've got 69 of the best golfers on the planet right now. Patrick Reed will not be teeing it up. He will not be replaced. So we are down to 69 players in the field. And when you get those 4 guaranteed rounds, Geoff, we know what happens. It's the cream tending to rise to the top. So it's a really, really large ask for Aaron Wise, for Hudson Swafford, for really half of this field to actually win the event. Can they outperform their expectation? Absolutely. Can they win? Much more unlikely.
I'll be sitting in front of 50-1.
I think that's fair. All right. Quick turnaround this week for the BMW Championship. That's Geoff Fienberg. I'm Rick Gehman, and we will catch you same time, same place next week for the Tour Championship. Good luck.